here at the center. So I really want to say thank you to everybody who's here today. What a fantastic collection of people. Usually our press announcement includes, 3 dozen or so of the media sitting in the front and a few of our artistic programmers. But I decided that really it was important for us to include our staff. So thank you to the media for sharing this occasion. And thank you to all of the staff who are here. In a moment, I'm going to introduce you to the artistic partners who really are the inspiration behind the programming here at the center. But I think they would join me in saying that it takes a whole team of really talented individuals who help support and mount these productions each year. And so I wanted to include the staff here. So that's why we have a large crowd. It's not that the media has grown so much, although I'd like to think that the performing arts is that kind of inspiration. So I'd like to welcome our artistic partners and identify them if I may. Mason, and please will you rise just to give everybody an idea of who you are and where you are. So Mason Bates, our composer in residence. Christoph Eschenbach, the music director of the National Symphony Orchestra. Suzanne Farrell, who is our artistic director for ballet programming and for the artistic ballet. Joseph Kallichstein, Yossi to all of us, the director of chamber music. Jason Moran, who's our artistic director for jazz. And Philippe Auguin, the music director of the Washington National Opera. And the woman whose last name always puts her at the end of the list, with lots of applause and love, our artistic director of the Washington National Opera, Francesca Zambello. This is an extraordinary group of artistic partners. They are the ones who inspire us, encourage us, push us each day. And I think that I speak for all of us on staff and for those of us in the media who come and attend so much. We look to you and say thank you to our artistic leaders for the work that you do together with the artistic administrators who support your work in bringing a fantastic season together. So thank you very, very much. So we have a lot of news to share, and I have fretted about this for more than a week because there is so much to tell you about our season coming up. I said to a couple of friends in the last couple of days that really this is about 9 press releases. This is 9 seasons that we're sharing, and that barely covers it all. We would be here all day if I gave true coverage to all of it. So we are giving you a sense of the arc of the season, and there is real content, there's meat in each of the press releases that tell you the details of each season. So I really encourage you all to not feel that I have left any important piece out, but really that we're telling a larger story about what's happening here at the center. And I'm really excited finally to be able to talk about it publicly because we've been planning it for months and months, and in some cases, years. So next year, the big story is that next year, in case you didn't know, on May 29, 2017, it would have been President John F. Kennedy's 100th birthday. A presidency, a man, a life indeed cut short, yet a presidency, a man, and a life with a legacy that still lives on. And for us here at the Kennedy Center, it's a legacy that burns bright. As JFK's living memorial, we will celebrate not one day, not 1 month. We will dedicate more than a year to a centennial celebration honoring our 35th president. This expansive year-long initiative, of course, honors Kennedy and his enduring impact on our nation and on our American spirit. We are also using the Centennial as an opportunity to revitalize the Kennedy Center's mission, a reboot, if you will. From the end of April of this year through the summer of 2017, the center moves forward with a creative vision informed by the ideals of JFK himself: courage, freedom, justice, service, and gratitude. Some might call these quintessentially American values. Certainly, these ideals are at the top of the list when you consider the aspirational best of this country, whether back in the 1960s or today in 2016. Underlying all of these principles is an enormous sense of gratitude, something that the Kennedy family continues to exhibit today through their contributions and dedication to public service. Our hope and aim is, as an institution, is that these ideals will take hold in our programming, be apparent in our artists, in our staff, and ultimately serve as a new way of thinking, the Kennedy Center of the future. We are taking timeless ethics or beliefs and using this man and the ideals we associate with him as a catalyst for how the arts can affect, reflect, and be the voice for a contemporary culture. So you're now sitting there thinking, okay, got it, JFK, maybe I can remember those ideals. Transposing those to the arts, what does that mean? How do you do it? The first thing you do when dreaming up big ideas is to surround yourself with visionaries, as we have with these artistic partners, and individuals who can channel our ambitions and help to shape our future in the most authentic way possible. For this role, we have invited our dear friend, cellist, humanitarian, and one of the best representatives of the American spirit I know, Yo-Yo Ma, to join as a member of this artistic partnership. Yo-Yo's long association with President Kennedy and the Kennedy Center, his dedication to understanding cultures around the world, and his long-standing reputation as an arts ambassador, making him an outstanding partner as we embark on this journey together. I am so pleased to announce that Yo-Yo Ma will join the center as a new artistic advisor at large to guide these efforts around John F. Kennedy over the next 3 years. So Yo-Yo, of course, is playing the cello somewhere else in the world. He didn't fit our schedule, but he did take time to record this message for us.
Roger Stevens put together this concert many years ago. It was an extraordinary moment because as a 7-year-old, I went to Washington, D.C., and I was asked to play. It was the very first fundraiser for what eventually became the Kennedy Center. And there was President Kennedy, and Leonard Bernstein was hosting the evening, where he was the MC. I mean, what an unbelievable introduction.
If we can make Art one of the great schools of civilization, then on that retreat will surely rest our claim to the ultimate gratitude of mankind.
The Kennedy idea of service, galvanizing people to do something that is needed, that is almost impossible. But if everybody comes together through sustained effort, through discipline, through incredible creative thinking, we can do it. I am so excited to be able to work with a fabulous group of people at the Kennedy Center, thinking about the idea of cultural service. This is a really great moment to have conversations within the center, within the community, with other partners around the country to say, well, how can the arts actually help? Because what the arts do is, it's one of the best ways to build imagination. You are actually practicing creativity when you work in the performing arts, and it's about collaboration. It's about using imagination so everybody can sign on towards a goal that's bigger than oneself. That, I think, is a hopeful beginning.
I always walk away from my conversations with Yo-Yo thinking about the world differently. And even when he uses words that we have heard him use before in other settings, it inspires you to think even further. He is that rare combination of a human being that is provocative, open-minded, and pure and kind. He looks outward to the community while also pushing the arts to explore new, even sometimes truly difficult territory. And as you can see, he's working side by side with our artists and administrators to reinforce and expand the Kennedy Center's connection to our artists and audiences. Often at an announcement like today, we're talking about programs that take place 6 or 18 months out into the future, but I'm excited to say that Yo-Yo began his work several months ago with us already, and the first sort of visible incarnation is at our Art Summit next month on April 25. He and Renee Fleming are co-curating, co-hosting this year's summit that will convene thought leaders from the arts and many other fields to focus on individual participation and the concept of citizen artists, as he spoke. The idea of using the arts to influence positive change in people's lives. It's an amazing, rewarding intersection of different perspectives and will establish a blueprint for our year-long celebration of the JFK Centennial. As a part of the Centennial, we have a wide range of programming and initiatives that will help us commemorate our past and present, as well as reimagine our future. In May of this year, as many of you already know because we shared it last year, we are celebrating Ireland 100, celebrating a century of Irish arts and culture. In addition to everything else we know about John F. Kennedy, he was also rather famously of Irish descent. As part of the Ireland 100 Festival, Fishamble, the new play company from Ireland, will perform a total of 26 tiny plays. These are original 500-word or less submissions from Irish and American residents as part of an open playwriting challenge we held this winter. These tiny plays are written by people of all ages, and each will reflect on the life and legacy of JFK. The Irish Festival will also feature screenings of 3 documentary films, each chronicling President Kennedy's historic visit to Ireland in 1963, a moment when the then relatively young country of Ireland welcomed their native-born son, the President John F. Kennedy. On May 29, during the Irish Festival, the 99th anniversary of JFK's birth, we are planning a very special commemoration and the true official launch of the festival, of the year-long Centennial. With over 30 events already programmed for that year and with more to come, it's really challenging to narrow the Centennial highlights down to just a few to share with you. The Centennial presentations are a classic representation of the breadth and depth of the scope of programming we have here and are uniquely able to mount at the Kennedy Center. From comedy with Dick Gregory paying homage to the 1960s era, to Dance Ensemble Company E presenting a work of dance, music, film, and narrative that invokes the story and relationship of Kennedy and Soviet Premier Khrushchev. We have also invited, it's like, boom, going for it. We have also invited Terence Blanchard, who's here. Terence, will you stand, please? To be an artist in residence at the center. And over the next few minutes, you're going to hear that he touches every part of the center, and we are really thrilled. All of the work that he's doing is Terence Blanchard authentic, but it also pays tribute to JFK. He will perform with his electronic group, the E Collective, making a musical statement on social justice in America today in a performance based on the story of Eric Garner. In addition to that arc of program, he will be here for work with the DC Public Schools. He will bring a Kennedy Center commission Bud Not Buddy to the Eisenhower Theater, which is a musical work, a beautiful book, but this will be a musical theater work featuring a jazz ensemble and a cast of characters who depict the moving journey of a 10-year-old boy from Flint, Michigan in 1936 in search of his father. In addition to that, the Washington National Opera will be hosting his Champion as a part of their season next year. So we've asked Terence to be a piece of this, a very important piece of this JFK celebration, and we're thrilled to have you here, Terence. In the area of classical music programming related to JFK, NSO Music Director John Andrea Nozeda will conduct an Americana program, a true Americana program, next January, featuring Lincoln's Portrait, John Williams' music for the films JFK and Lincoln, and Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. In addition to Champion, the WNO is presenting a pairing with an important other opera, also standing for the ideals of freedom, courage, and justice, Jake Heggie's Dead Man Walking. So the two of them together next spring will make a very, very powerful statement here at the Kennedy Center. As this unfolds, you can see the JFK theme and those ideals I outlined. They touch every part of this Kennedy Center, and that is the miracle of the Kennedy Center. We can program collectively to include jazz, music of all forms, dance, theater, film. As a representation of the value of service, JFK's dedication to international peace and diplomacy, the Kennedy Center partners with the company Classical Movements, and I see Nita Helms here. Thank you for being here. And we are inviting choirs from across the U.S. and from countries that have benefited from the work of the Peace Corps to sing commissioned works here at the Kennedy Center. Thank you for that partnership, Nita. Finally, on the day that would have been his 100th birthday, May 29, 2017, the Kennedy Center will open its doors and celebrate the centennial with a campus-wide open house, a festival to showcase all of the arts of the center, including classic and contemporary, for families and audiences of all ages. I am proud and honored that we can offer such a stimulating and engaging celebration in recognition of this important occasion. In keeping with our commitment to artist-centered programming, we're bringing another artist literally to the center, Renee Fleming, who the world knows as a superstar soprano as well as an arts advocate and educator, will also become an artistic partner at large. Renee is an artist, a curator, a thought leader, and we have tapped her for a 3-year appointment to discover our voice collectively, figuratively, and literally. Renee is an advocate for bringing together divergent art forms and cultures in innovative ways, just as she did in 2013 with the Kennedy Center American Voices Festival. As part of her new role, Renee will curate a new series, Renee Fleming's Voices, which will feature concerts around the center from genres including R&B, jazz, cabaret, art song, and of course, opera. If you've followed her recent work in Chicago, you know that she has a knack for cultivating and engaging with community, redefining the importance of finding our own voice, our own creativity. Renee is also somewhere else today. Nasty little thing about finding one day that works for us, but not for everybody else, but we have her beamed in to tell us a little bit about what she's going to be doing here.
American Voices was a vision really to bring singers from different genres together and explore what we have in common, what makes us different. The real excitement of working on that project has allowed me now, with the Kennedy Center, to start a new series called Just Voices. My new role at the Kennedy Center allows me to work in areas that I'm especially passionate about. I'll be able to curate and find people who use their voice in really unique ways, people who are extremely accomplished singers in different genres, and really just finding talented individuals who will illuminate the various uses of this instrument that belongs to all of us. It's an exciting time to be working with the Kennedy Center because of the JFK anniversary. It's no accident that a performing arts center is what has been memorializing his life, his work, his ideals. And the arts throughout time have been the muse of human existence. It's artists who are the ones who comment, who complain, who who protest, and who also congratulate. So it makes perfect sense that this would be the home of American values, of American culture. This is the place that synthesizes all of the arts. Everything is here. It's not just performances anymore. It's how do we create this place where people want to come and be with other people.
Somehow they say it so much better than I do, but those editors are very helpful. We have one more artist to introduce you to, and who will join our roster of artist curators. He is a pioneer, a recording artist, a film and music producer, and a true leader in the world of hip-hop, whom we have invited to spearhead and curate our extended programming, newly extended programming in this area. So today we announce Q-Tip as the Kennedy Center first ever artistic director of hip hop culture. Thank you. Q-Tip is a legend, as are all of our artists. But he is a legend. He is once a member of the trailblazing hip-hop group A Tribe Called Quest. He has long-standing relevance within the hip-hop community since the beginning of the 1980s. We are really excited that he will be here over the next few years to help make hip-hop a core part of our programming here at the center and to bring this art form and modern storytelling to DC audiences. Q-Tip was originally set to be here today. I promise that he was set to be here today, and you'll be able to tell because the video looks really different, but he really, last night we found out he was not able to be here. So we are lucky to have him, and here's his video, and you can tell we didn't plan this part of it. He was supposed to be here.
Hello, everybody out there. I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there at the press conference today. But I am super excited and happy about the announcement of my role as artistic director for hip-hop culture at the esteemed Kennedy Center. It couldn't have come at a better time, especially for this country and our world, specifically nationally, dealing with race, issues of racism and issues of misogyny and issues of classism, and then abroad, enemies ruthlessly going against enemies, politicizing of issues to the degree that the common folk sometimes gets lost in the water with the rhetoric. When all of these things go on, it's always good to come to some sort of art, whether it be a film, a book, or music. And hip-hop is no exception to this antidote for the ills of the world. For over the past 40 years, hip-hop has not only served as one of the most influential art forms out of the African American community, but it's also the prevailing energy of culture around the world. We see hip-hop in our film, we see it in our commercials, we hear it everywhere. You cannot escape that beat. And that beat, that pulse, is what we're going to connect to at the Kennedy Center. I can't wait to roll up my sleeves and start the work.
In spending time with him, getting to know him, and talking about what art means in our society, I really believe that he has an important voice for all of us, for those art forms that don't have the central stage, for understanding that art can offer us solace, it can offer us time of joy and celebration. It can also be a reflection of who we are in our world today. And that, I think, would be something that each and every one of our artists would say as a part of the work that they're doing. And we felt strongly that his voice needed to be here as well. So I look forward to introducing you to him in person in the coming months. So, next year is a big year for us. And clearly there's a lot that takes place on stage and performance, but there is much that we need to do in terms of dialogue. And so in addition to the staged performances, we are looking to program a lot of activity with the hopes of having public interaction. And whether those are active conversations in small and large settings, sort of a talk back after performances or workshops on site before or after performances, we are looking to engage more deeply in the conversation about what art means in our lives, in our society, our culture. Our goal is to provide a long-lasting connection between audiences and artists beyond the transaction of handing over a ticket as you walk into a performance, so that you carry that experience with you long past the 2-hour performance time. So, big ambitions for next year, but it's a perfect time to do it because he was, after all, a president with big ambitions who inspired us to think that way. So, moving to new topics, if I may. Another responsibility that we feel that we have here at the center is really about featuring the music of America and the artists of America. And as you can see throughout all of the programming, there's so much that we do of that you hardly need the highlighter to point it out. But I'd like to sort of bring to your attention 2 additional programs next year. One is the Festival of North American Orchestras, titled Shift, that we are undertaking in collaboration with Washington Performing Arts. After a fair bit of gestation period, it comes to life next March and April. And our idea is to have a week-long spotlight on these orchestras of all sizes from across the country to really celebrate the vitality and the identity of those ensembles and their communities, and having an immersive experience all here in the nation's capital. The idea is that we celebrate them artistically and also about their service and creativity in serving their community. Also, later in April of 2017, the Center is reviving its broad initiative to support new American work with the return of its week-long ballet across America. And these programs will be curated by some of the great stars of America, with dancer-choreographer Justin Peck and principal dancer Misty Copeland. We're so thrilled about the work that we've been doing with them in preparation for this. Ballet Across America explores the new directions and the most creative, innovative work happening today in ballet companies across America. And it's great that it happens both in the same time period next spring. So in the interest of time, I really cannot give you all the details of all of the season, and so please forgive me for that. It is not in any way to diminish this, but I want to give you sort of a highlight of what's happening over the season. One of the important things to say is that we are commissioners and creators of new work, and I think that there are 15, but there may be even more commissions, 9 co-commissions, and of course our 16th annual dance commissioning project that will happen next year. And this is really a symbol of our commitment to cultivating new work and supporting contemporary artists and sharing them with audiences broadly. So, to the season. I really want to start first with the National Symphony Orchestra, as this is a very important season for them as they say farewell to an extraordinary man and their music director for 7 years. I want to take this moment to recognize Maestro Christoph Eschenbach and thank him for his wonderful music making and leadership during this 10 years. So will you please join me in saying thank you? years, he, as music director, has made an indelible mark on the music making here at the center. He has attracted and appointed 16 talented musicians who've really changed the face and the sound of the orchestra. He recently led his 3rd international tour to Europe with huge and wonderful acclaim, and he will have a 4th next season. These are important trips for the artistic development of the orchestra and for telling the story of this particular ensemble around the world. He has commissioned 15 new works to be added to the orchestral canon, including 3 in this season, and led the orchestra on several important cycles, including the current Mahler cycle. He is really a musician's musician, both on the podium and at the piano. The members of the orchestra have so enjoyed their collaboration, whether on the main stage or particularly while sharing the joys of chamber music. We are incredibly grateful for your service, your dedication, and your contributions to the Kennedy Center, to Washington, D.C., and especially to your orchestra. Thank you, Christoph. So a bit about their season. It will launch with a dear friend of his, one he has worked so closely with. Lang Lang will be the soloist for the season opening concert, and the closing of the season will be Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, the work that he actually used in his first season. And this time paired with a contemporary work by German composer Matthias Pincher, another good friend. Next season, we also remember an important anniversary of our former music director, Slava Rostropovich, who would have been 90. And we will have a 4-week celebration of Slava. Maestro Eschenbach leads 2 of those 4 programs, featuring Shostakovich 8 and inviting Gidon Kramer performing the Weinberg violin concerto. And as an extension of that celebration, that commemoration, the NSO and Maestro Eschenbach will embark on a tour to Russia. It's a very important tour because of the connection back to Slava, and they will be the first orchestra actually ever to perform as a part of the Mstislav Rostropovich Festival. As I mentioned, a continuing role in commissioning new music. There will be 3 American composers, Mason Bates, Christopher Rouse, and Wynton Marsalis will all have premieres next year. We also have another artist in residence at the center next season, and Joshua Bell will join the NSO and music makers across the center, curating a week-long residency, including a wide variety of performances, a collaboration with Gourmet Symphony, a recital with pianist Sam Haywood, a collaboration with modern dance group Dance Higginbotham, and a special family concert, and commission based on his award-winning children's book, The Man with the Violin. So, as you know, this current season, we launched 2 new series that have been really, really successful, and they will continue and, in fact, expand in next year. So, great things, lots more detail in the press release about the NSO season. For the Fortis Chamber Music series, we are really lucky because some of the very best chamber music happens here at the Kennedy Center under the auspices of the Fortis Chamber Music Concerts. Yossi has been the artistic mastermind behind these seasons, and he has put together yet another fantastic season of 12 performances. Just a few highlights. Mezzo-soprano Joyce DiDonato with the Brentano String Quartet featuring a song cycle written specifically for Joyce by Jake Heggie. You see all the connections here. A trio comprised of Alicia Weilerstein, pianist Inanna Bartonen, and cellist Anthony McGill. A recital by Maurizio Pollini, one of the truly defining pianists of our time. A performance by the Takash Quartet, also including a Fortis co-commission. And a fascinating program featuring the Harlem String Quartet with Aldo Lopez Gavilan and his brother Ilmar, who were brought up in 2 different countries, the United States and Cuba, reunited on this stage for the Fortis program. Great series. Thank you, Yossi. So now for theater, a very important and popular area of programming here, ever-changing, ever-growing. It's very exciting to see what we're doing next year and in the years to come. We really believe in bringing some of the best of theater from around the world, whether it's musical theater or plays from other theaters, and we're looking at increasing our relationship to producing as well. We really believe that there is an unquenched desire for theater in this city, and we're excited about what we have. Next year, in association with the Public Theater of New York, we bring to you The Gabriels, subtitled The Election Year in the Life of One Family. Now this you may have seen in the reviewed, because the first installment just started this past week, and it's called Hungry. It's very timely as it relates to the ongoing presidential election, and we will present it here in the weeks leading up to the inaugural in January. This is Tony Award-winning playwright and director Richard Nelson's latest three-play cycle, portrayed in the same spirit as his critically acclaimed The Apple Family plays. This is really interesting theater work that is created in the moment about what's happening on any given day, and we will be able to bring it here to the Kennedy Center in January. We've programmed the Washington premiere of the UK and New York sensation, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, an incredible play, which I think you'll love. It is a new play by Simon Stevens and directed by Marianne Elliott. We have Tony Award-winning productions of musicals, of course. Perennial favorites, The King and I, Wicked, Hedwig and the Angry Itch, Cabaret, and Chicago. We have Mandy Patinkin and Taylor Mack in The Last Two People on Earth, plus Sondheim's classic, Into the Woods. We are really proud to augment all of that with some of the works of the most acclaimed directors working today, including Suleiman Al-Bassam with Petrol Station, Peter Brook with Battlefield, Robert Lepage with Needles and Opium, and Sam Mendes and Robert Marshall for this new version of Cabaret. A great and interesting, diverse season. Now, for years, the Kennedy Center has also programmed captivating theater for our youngest patrons. Our performances for young audiences this year are perhaps the most diverse and wide-ranging that we have ever presented, incorporating musical idioms from different genres and highlighting work from icons in jazz, classical music, hip-hop, and drama. So next season, Performances for Young Audiences has 7 world premieres, including Terence Blanchard's Bud Not Buddy, as I already mentioned, The Man with the Violin, also as I mentioned. Now this one, The Man with the Violin, is about that story when he went undercover and played the violin in the metro station. We also have All the Way Live, featuring our hip-hop performer friends in a remix of classical art and fairy tales. To Sail with the Sun, a spin on Vivaldi's classic, The Four Seasons, featuring Company E and musicians from the National Symphony. And From the Mouths of Monsters, a modern retelling of the literary classic Frankenstein by playwright and beat poet Idris Goodwin. Now, my secret to all of you is that you really need to go to these performances for young audiences. They are fantastic, and it doesn't matter if you are 50-something years old or 15 or 8. It's great theater as well. And I'm putting that plug in, not because it's anything different from all the other great stuff going on, but people think this is for young kids, and it is not just for young kids. It's for everybody, plus young kids. So I encourage you to go. Okay, our opera season was going to have a really hard time following this opera season. With the remarkable premiere of Appomattox, followed by Eric Owens and a moving performance of Lost in the Stars, and now with The Ring coming up in just a few short weeks, it would be hard to really have a season after this season. But I think that next year, it really does take it to another level. So next year, the Washington National Opera will present Mozart's Marriage of Figaro, which will also be this year's production of the M&M's Opera in the Outfield in September. We have Donizetti's Daughter of the Regiment, also in the fall. And to close the season, perhaps one of the most beloved opera, Puccini's Madame Butterfly. Importantly, in the middle of it, we have several new important initiatives. And for the past 4 years, the opera has presented a comprehensive commissioning program called the American Opera Initiative that features 3 20-minute operas, the work of teams pairing new up-and-coming composers with librettists. These performances have been so popular that we've had to add repeat performances already, and next year, in its 5th year, the initiative expands to become a festival across 3 days in January, and the 3 operas will revolve around the JFK ideals. Really, really exciting and brilliant programming. In addition, in the spring, as I mentioned earlier, Champion and Dead Man Walking will be in repertory here at the Opera House. This is really important work. It is not easy to decide to program Champion and Dead Man Walking together, but I'm proud of the bold understanding of what needs to be done in America with American artists, American programming, and commissioning and supporting the work of American composers. And so my hat's off to you, Francesca, Philippe, and the Washington National Opera for this great programming. Congratulations. So up here on the terrace level, on almost any given night, you see, over the last few years, the Kennedy Center has developed into a real scene, and we're getting our toes more and more wet, doing more dramatic work up here. But it's really an exciting place to be, and with so much programming, it's really fantastic. And thank you to Jason Moran. Next year, his 5th year at the center, we bring legends, today's new jazz leaders, and rising stars. We are so lucky, Jason. I don't know that we could possibly bring the diverse programming without your ear to the drumbeat of what's happening out in this world. You have a special gift for connecting audiences with the performance creative process, and it's really deeply rooted in how patrons experience the art. So next year, lots of programming. I feel like a broken record, but every single one of our artistic partners have really embraced the idea of the JFK themes. We have 2 artist-curated series, the Jason Plus series, which has been so popular, and it returns with new names and faces and new areas to explore. It includes premieres of 2 multimedia works featuring Joan Jonas, installation artist Theaster Gates, as well as a new commission with MC and singer Georgia Ann Muldrow. And Terence Blanchard will be here throughout the whole season, and as I already shared with you in terms of his programming, he's really giving back. He is that citizen artist dedicating a huge amount of time to the young people of Washington, D.C. that will culminate in a performance showcasing their work. Thank you for that so much, Terence. Kennedy Center Jazz is also an important series where we host starry events and we commemorate jazz icons, and next year is no different. We will have Jimmy Heath for his 90th birthday. We'll feature the 100th birthday of the late Ella Fitzgerald and a tribute to singer and civil rights activist Abby Lincoln featuring Dee Dee Bridgewater. Wow. And finally, I really want to do a shout out for this remarkable man, an NEA jazz master, in a premiere with Wayne Shorter. So great season. Thank you so much, Jason. So one thing I knew before I came here, and you probably think I'm crazy. Here's this lady, she comes from music, whatever. What does she really know about all the art forms? But one thing I really did know before I came here was the long-standing reputation for the Kennedy Center's programming of ballet and contemporary dance. We believe, of course we're being self-congratulatory, but we've heard it from all of the others, and especially the artists who come here, because they feel really privileged to be in such great company. But we really believe that this is the best programming for dance and ballet that you can find anywhere in the world. Next season is really no different. We have lots, so I'm just going to give you an overview. It's interesting also because there's a lot of theme of fairy tales through the season, and so we have a beautiful theme of fairy tales throughout a wide variety of programming at the NSO and also with ballet and in other places. So for ballet, We have Christopher Wheeldon's Cinderella with the San Francisco Ballet. We have the Mariinsky Ballet returning with Alexei Ratmansky's The Little Humpbacked Horse, John Neumeyer's The Little Mermaid with the Hamburg Ballet, Kevin Mackenzie's Swan Lake and the works of Balanchine and with the American Ballet Theater, and of course the week-long ballet across America featuring 2 programs, as I mentioned. Next season, we celebrate the 15th anniversary of the Suzanne Farrell Ballet here at the Kennedy Center. Having Miss Farrell in the building, to be an active artist and teacher, walking the hallways every day is a pure joy and delight for all of us. And for her to share what she has learned from her mentor, George Balanchine, through her programming and by teaching is a true blessing for us here. And next year is no different. So thank you very much for your program next year, which will include a company premiere of a work rarely seen, the Gounod Symphony. Thank you very much, Suzanne. So in contemporary dance, just briefly, we have the return of Alvin Ailey. We can't have a season without Alvin Ailey, American Dance Theater here. But we also are welcoming Michelle Dorance's The Blues Project with Toshi Reagan, as Elizabeth Streb's Streb Extreme Action. That's really, have you watched this? It's extreme, it really is. And of course, the 16th Annual Local Dance Commissioning Project, where we foster new dance by local artists performing on Millennium Stage in September and October next year. Now, some of you have noticed that we have been doing a lot of comedy, and we're really thrilled and having a great time with it. Because of our annual presentation of the Mark Twain Prize and the enthusiasm that we've had around that, we felt that we could and should expand for comedy in all of our spaces, and they really take place in all of our spaces: Millennium Stage, Terrace Theater, Eisenhower, Concert Hall. We haven't quite gotten to the Opera House yet, but we're working on that. This is in part because of our sponsorship with Capital One, but we would do it even if we didn't have that sponsorship. We're just delighted to have them as a partner. Now, comedy books on a rolling basis, so you don't announce a whole season. And I just want to sort of remind you all that we do have this amazing comedy festival coming up in June. But we do have a little bit of a starter list. We have completely sold out performances of John Oliver, who's coming for more and more and more performances this August. But then next year we also have Trevor Noah. We have the NSO performing with the Second City. We have this really fun and funny group pair called Gudesman and Ju, who are a pianist and violinist, and they are sort of a modern day P.D.Q. Bach and Victor Borge, Kevin Nealon, and Adam Carolla. So we are having fun with comedy here. So I think you'll be happy to know that I'm near the conclusion. At last year's announcement, we launched 3 new series that would be curated by 3 exemplary and artistic innovators, each crossing and certainly blurring various genres of art forms. Those are Mason Bates with Casey Jukebox, Jason with Jason Plus, and Damien Wetzel's demo series. They have been huge successes this year. We have been delighted with the audience response, new audiences coming to the Kennedy Center, as well as audiences from other art forms coming to see what's happening. There is a sense of adventure, and it's really been fantastic and fun. I've already told you a little bit about Jason's series. I want to tell you about Mason's series. It has had such enthusiasm that we thought we needed to bust out of these venues just a little bit, and we will have 5 performances next year, one of which is a programming concept that he has had elsewhere in the country to great success. It feels a little bit like a club event with classical music thrown in called Mercury Soul, so stay tuned. It's really fun and exciting. And he has invited a debut here at the Kennedy Center of local DJ collective Thievery Corporation. 3 other really exciting programs as well. and I encourage you to look at the press release because I can't go into all of it. Damien will have 2 more of his programs. One will be around and paying tribute to heroes, appropriate for the JFK theme, and another in a dedicated examination of the interplay and intertwining of song and dance. So we have a really fascinating and diverse season. There are, as I was coming in this morning, I thought about all the programs that I know about that are in gestation that we are not really ready yet to share with you, but this gives you sort of the bulk of what we're doing and the direction that we're heading. So thank you for listening to it. So I want to close now with our newest art form, represented at the center, hip hop. We've been programming hip hop actually for about 15 years, right, Garth? And it hasn't been consistent, and you haven't always seen it, and it never was really identified as a part of a series. It was always hip hop plus, Jason plus, hip hop plus. But now we really believe that this needs to have its own home, and we need to call it out. We've invited Q-Tip to curate, and he, as you said, he's just getting started, so there will be a lot more to share with you on this. But we do, because of our ongoing commitment, have a variety of things that we're already doing. And we're really proud to continue our long partnership with High Arts, a leading organization with the urban arts movement, and they will help us create and produce new work here at the Kennedy Center. They also were partners with us in the One Mic Festival that you may recall from 2014. So to give us a little bit of a taste of hip hop, we have a special guest. Thank goodness we have an art to start and art to close this conversation. So I'd like now to introduce you to Paige Henderson, who will give us a little bit of a sense of what we have in store for us. Paige.
Thanks, Deborah. Thank you. Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Paige Hernandez, and I'm so thrilled to be here this morning and to tell you a little more and to share with you what hip-hop means to me and what it means to be integrated into the Kennedy Center's programming. I'm so thrilled for this significant occasion. Incorporating hip-hop into the center's programming is validating, it's inspirational, and it encompasses Kennedy's ideals in a way that are relatable to my generation and its artistic expression. Hip-hop as a culture is multi-sensory and it's multitonal. It's more than rap music. It's dance theater, poetry in motion, hip opera, progressive visual arts, and poetry that has quickly become timeless classics. In more simple terms, hip-hop is comprised of several pillars. These are the same aforementioned expressions broken into the DJ, the MC, graffiti artists, break dancers, and knowledge of self. Now, of all the pillars, knowledge of self is a direct parallel to John F. Kennedy and his ideals of courage, freedom, justice, service, and gratitude. It's the ability to be given the opportunity to have your voice to be heard, and then to freely express yourself on behalf of your family, your community, and your culture. With that, it's my great pleasure to share that my collaborator, Valle Harrell, and I have been co-commissioned by the Theater for Young Audiences to bring All the Way Live, and that happens this season in October. In All the Way Live, we aim to empower students, ages 5 to 10, to be proud of where they're from, the hip-hop culture they love, and to see themselves represented in a way that validates their true character, much like JFK empowered in all of us. As a young girl growing up in Baltimore, I wanted nothing more than to have the same experience that the Kennedy Center will present all year long, including our show in the fall. I'm so thrilled for students to discover knowledge of self and to align their own character with JFK, to find their place in their community, their nation, and ultimately, in the world. So, in keeping in mind with the hip-hop pillar of knowledge of self, I'd like to share an excerpt from my solo show, Page in Full, a B-Girls visual mixtape. So in this excerpt, I pay homage to my idols, the Fly Girls. The Fly Girls were a multicultural dance troupe from the hit 90s TV show In Living Color. They exemplified talent, knowledge of self, independence, and cultural inclusion, all while being grounded in hip-hop. Fly girl, oh so fly girl. Girl, I'm fly. Fly girl, fly. You can't see me, covered in my attitude. So sexy, I'm rude. So bad, I'm good. So suburb, so hood. But it's all good, 'cause I'm fly, no lie. And you know this. Ballin', fallin', sprawlin' all over that beat. Can't nothing stop my feet and my brand new felines. Or should I say, fee flies. Fee, fi, fo, fum, bring your djembe or your beat machine drum, and I will break circles all around it and then bury it in my 1986 time capsule. So dirty that there's flies, because they swarm in my honor. Bzz, bzz, they ponder as they rub their feet together. Who is the most clever, the ultimate fly of us all, opposite of a flower on the wall? Ah, yes, the fly girl Paige, beat girling all over this stage, proving once and for all, who's the flyest of them all? Girl, I'm fly. Fly, girl, fly. Fly till I die. Oh, so fly. I'm on In Living Color, and you're in my studio audience. Everybody clap along. Ow! Lorianne Gibson, Masako Willis, Carrie Ananaba, Lisa Marie Todd, Carrie French, Deirdre Lang, Jennifer Lopez, Michelle Whitney Morrison, Carla Garrido, Lisa Thompson, Josie Thacker, Rosie Perez, and Paige Hernandez, the original Fly Girls. And the crowd goes wild. Thank you.
Okay, so now you have a little bit of a sense of what we have in store for us. This is one of the most remarkable places on earth for art and artists, and it is an honor for us for those of us who work here, to do so alongside our artists. And we're just thrilled that you, of the media, are so supportive, that you write, you help us tell our story, and that you help remind us when we're not telling our story particularly well as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming. For the media, our artistic partners will be joining us at lunch, so please come to there and we will be able to answer questions and have more conversation. Thank you, everybody, for being here.